How's it going, everybody? So today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how you can color grade in Final Cut Pro here in 2023. Why I put a year, I don't know. But that's what we're talking about. So let's get into Final Cut. Hey, I'm Daniel Rubio, video resident here at Online Creator Studio. If you've ever been interested in creating content for like photography, video, podcasting, editing, anything like that, this is the place to be. We create videos and tutorials on this topic. This is what we do in and day out. We want to share our knowledge with you, so consider hitting that subscribe button. One thing I want to share with Final Cut from the get-go, Final Cut isn't like the master tool for color grading. If you want to do that, if you want the most flexibility, the most tools that are built for color grading, you're gonna go to DaVinci Resolve. However, what I've been learning in DaVinci Resolve has helped me to understand the pipeline to color correct and grade in Final Cut. And I want to teach you some of the things that I've learned, some things that I've picked up from being in Resolve, and how you can apply some similar principles here in Final Cut. Right here we have two clips. One of them is one that had a variable ND filter that had a color cast on it, and the other one's just a regular clip. Both of them were shot on Panasonic Vlog. This is what I have for my cameras. So I want to show you something that the way I start out with. So first off, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna close out my main panel on the left with my media, and that's by Control-Command-1. Open up my scopes by Command-7, and I usually just do the vector scope and the RGB overlay waveform. Now, one thing you can do is you can show a skin tone indicator, and you can see that this is skewing very heavy to the yellow, which is understandably. Now, I don't remember when this was added, particularly in what update, but you see right here, there's a button that says Save Effects Presets. What I've done is I've created a custom save preset. So if I go to Panasonic, there's a Panasonic Vlog base. So if I drop this on both these clips, so let's do a quick before. So this is, flat, nothing, and then this is before. Plop that there, plop this here. You can see that there's definitely a color shift. And then over here, looks pretty good. So what you see over here in this preset is that I have two color wheels, followed by a LUT, then hue saturation curves, and then another LUT. Now, what you need to understand in Final Cut is that it goes from top down in a pipeline, and there's two options. There's a video pipeline and an audio effects pipeline. Whatever effects you do, that's what it's gonna that's how it plays out. If I switched a couple of these things around and I started tweaking, it would impact it. Just like in a node tree in Resolve, you would go from left to right, and whatever comes in from the input goes out in the output. It's the same sort of principle. What you also need to understand is that because of that workflow, I've created this standard setup, because when you first do it, you can get really mixed up, because you can actually come into the inspector and add a LUT on the camera base level, but I don't want to do that, because you want to maintain, you don't want to conform it into a Rec 709 and lose out on your flexibility when it comes to your log profile. So that's why I do this in a preset. So the first two I'm going to talk about in a second, and then we have the custom LUT. So if I turn on this LUT, it's just the base like we had before. Now you can see here it's conforming it from a Rec 709 to standard Rec 709, but it's just into a LUT profile for Panasonic Vlog. Now here's a quick little power tip that Final Cut has. I'm sure that DaVinci Resolve has something similar, but or that I've done some stuff similar in DaVinci Resolve, but I find it it just doesn't do as well. I don't know how Apple does this, honestly. It's a secret weapon, but if you hold Option Command B, this does what's called a balance color. Now you can see here, there's a strong color cast. I'm not a color corrector. I'm still learning a lot of these tools, but this has been one of the things that when I'm not sure how things are playing out, I will hit this. I'll do Command Option B, do that balance color. You can also go to Clip, Modify. You go to Modify, and then you go to Balance Color. Now there's another option called Match Color, which is actually really amazing too. So if I come over here, I can hit Balance Color. It's going to balance that color. And then if I hit Option Command M, and I come over here, I can match that color to that clip. Now I only use Match Color if, let's say, I'm getting clips from like like maybe I have an iPhone clip and I have some other clips from other cameras. This is one of those things that I find to be very, very useful in the aspect. So anyways, so you can see that the balance color it does a really phenomenal job. Now sometimes it like maybe like it does a little bit funky. You can come here and do a selective white balance for a area, and it gets you the white balance plus the balance color. Now what this is balancing is that it's doing, I think what it's happening is that it's trying to do like the full contrast of what you might be doing. So now let's say if I didn't do this, right? If I came in, I might have to move my global from yellow over into the more like blue cyan or whatever. And I might have to do a whole bunch of other masking things and then try to like go from there. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep the balance color for now because it looks good to me. Okay, so what do I do with my first color wheels? Color wheels are going to be like your balance, right? So might be my global. We want to look at macro, not micro, whatever the philosophy is, right? So right now it's probably a little too dark. I'm going to boost up that global. I chose color wheels because I kind of like the color wheels a little bit more. But if you're a curves person, you could easily create another preset where it's color wheel and then a color curve to add your contrast, because that's what my second wheel is. So I come in here and I'm gonna bring the shadows down a little bit more. I'm gonna bring that highlights just a smidge up, and we're gonna go to that effect. So maybe switch my So that to me that's kind of what I want. I can turn that back off and on. It's subtle. It's not huge. I could really make it, deeper if I wanted to, add a little bit more contrast to that aspect, right? Next thing is we have the actual conversion LUT, so that's there. So like if I come back here and I turn off all these LUTs, you can see that I'm adjusting all the stuff before I do the conversion. Now we have the conversion. Now let's say like this purple hue right here might be a little too strong. So I can come here, and this is after the fact, and maybe I want to desaturate that just a little bit. Like, okay, not too much. Or maybe I want to pop it up, pop it a little bit more. And then I could, if I wanted to, do another one because this is a separate color, and bring that saturation down. So I bring up the purple, bring out the red. And then maybe I want to do some Luma here, and I want to bring down her skin tone just a little bit. Not a lot, but that's there. And then maybe even and have that. Now I could also do selective color, right? Add a shape mask or a color mask, stuff like that you would do in DaVinci Resolve to add like a power window, right? That's what they're called. Anyways, for now this is okay for me. Now the final thing I do is come here and add a creative LUT. So I'm gonna choose Avondale. It was a little bit of felt springy. Now, honestly, to me, the natural color out of the Panasonic's, the V-Log color profile is beautiful. And this one, just like if I max it out, which is not necessarily what you want to do when it comes to a LUT, but you can see here, it warms it up, does a little bit more to that highlight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that down to like 47. I can turn that off and on. And it's subtle, it's not huge, which I like. And then, yeah, looks great. Phenomenal, right? I switch over to this other shot of my daughter doing the dishes, because you got to teach them how to do stuff. And I get to this shot right here with my oldest daughter looking at me trying to mess with some settings. That looks good too. If I come right there and I just turn this Creative LUT, it warms it up a little bit. Adds a little bit of stylist, not huge, right? That's the thing, is you don't want the color grading to be like very aggressive or anything. Anyways, that's it. That's what I would do, right? Totally done. Don't have to worry about having any sort of adjustment there. All right. Okay, so what you need to know when it comes to having your color wheels prior to your LUT is that you're no longer like adjusting the actual log profile. You're adjusting the conversion into Rec 709 from whatever the LUT pack you do, right? So it can really affect how the image ends up playing out for you when you start to do other, like maybe more of an aggressive gray. This is you can especially feel this when you're using 8-bit footage, which I used to use with a different camera. Once you get to 10-bit, you do have a little bit more flexibility, but it's, again, to me, it's just like when you're in Resolve and you want to do all your other stuff prior to your transform, or if you're doing color management on a project level, just understanding where things are at in that setup. So to me, again, it doesn't feel like there's like that much of a difference, but when you get into how color works, I can promise you that you'll see if you're doing something very aggressive. In this Rec 709 transform, I'm like, it feels globally, it's a little bit brighter. But honestly, I think that I'm in the range that I want to be in. So now I'm just going to add my contrast here, and I'm going to bring down those shadows a lot more. Bring up the midtones just a smidge, and then I'm going to bring those highlights down just a little bit, and I'm good to go. Like, I don't really have a reason for that. And then again, I have that North Park, and then I could bring that up just a smidge more if I wanted to, and you can see that it cools it down and has that stylistic look. I'm good to go. Now let's say for whatever reason, this was like a studio shot like I'm doing right now. It's something that I'm going to be in a spot that I'm going to be doing somewhat regularly. I could, I know that I'm not going to be changing the setting. Everything's going to be the same. I could literally just save this effect preset. I know that everything's going to stay the same on the camera end. Just save it. Then all you have to do is drop it in for whatever there. And that's what these color presets are. Like all this color presets that Final Cut has built in. Now they're not good. I'm not going to tell you that they're good, but that's what they're doing here, is that they're trying to give you the understanding that there's like stylistic choices. The problem is a lot of them don't have any adjustments to make them to be less like aggressive. Editor Rubio here. I'm realizing that I made a little bit of a mistake right here. I actually, when mentioning about the stylistic color looks in Final Cut, I said that there wasn't like a lot of parameters that you can change. That's wrong. Most of them actually have parameters that you can adjust to get the look that you're looking for. I would just mess around with them so you can see what's available. A lot of these are built with Motion, which is a powerful tool. You have a little bit of a playlist of some of the things there. Anyways, yeah, so back to the video. Whereas when you're doing your color grading, you can then, instead of having to do all these adjustment layers and all this other stuff, you literally just have to drop an effect. You could compound clip all your A-roll, drop that effect on there, and you're off to the races. You're good to go. That is the power of that. Now in this other one, like obviously this is more stylistic. This is a warmer look. To me, that's totally fine. I mean, honestly, my skin tones look like about where I want them to be. They look like visually that's there. When I look in the scopes, that's about where we want to look at, especially after, like we're looking at a lot more aggressive in that without that balanced color. So that's what you got here. We have some really great stuff here in Final Cut that allows you to create more of a stylistic color choice that can be fast and reusable in the future. I hope you liked this video. If you did, consider checking out our online platform where you can sign up to join our free community, or check out one of our courses that we have on Final Cut and soon to be podcasting as well. This is Danny Rubio, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.